in the recession, my father had a really rough time dealing with someone that was abusing alcohol. If I could overcome that, you're able to be there for your family and find a way to make it through on the better end, on the greener side of things. It's like, wow, that right there is probably one of the toughest things I had to overcome myself. Real estate can't be that hard. That, opening up a restaurant with him, and then eventually losing it to COVID in 2021. Why did I quit? Think about the story about overcoming all of this and how far you're gonna go and how fast you're gonna go once things are in the right place. And it's just like, you just wait, you got it. Greatest obstacle in life is not a lack of knowledge, money, or resources. Our greatest obstacle in life is our ability to believe in ourselves. And then once you have that, nothing can stop you. 大家好，欢迎，这是一个 Straight Up Chicago Investor Podcast。我是马先辉，英文名字是 Jeffrey Ma， 跟我是你的 host Tom and Mark。
Oh man, I don't know how much that was legit, how much you're just making up, but it was great. We lost Mark. I'm gonna have to do the intro without him. Are you all right over there?
Oh man.
I've seen you crack up before, but not like that.
Oh man, that is awesome. So I was thinking about the other day. I listened to one of our episodes where we had the opening. I think it was one we had in Bulgarian. I'm like, I wonder how many people have like, that was the first one they chimed in on, and they turned it off right away because they thought it was in a different language.
Yeah, we don't give them a link.
Like, I wonder if like we've lost like people because of this.
Maybe we'll get a spike in other places.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Dude,
Listeners in China, that'd be funny.
Yeah, there we go.
man.
I love when our guest is like 10 times cooler than us. It makes the episode a lot easier.
Man, for sure.
Couple black belts, couple restaurants, no big deal.
I know. I'm telling you, when he was telling us about the black belts, all I could think about was like him like tearing up the table and kicking our ass like in the middle of the show. Like it was my mind goes crazy places sometimes.
Yeah, wrestler, state qualifier for wrestling.
See, come on, like we're just gonna find out more about him here.
Yeah, I was living in China for 2 years, and in China you can major in a sport. Like you can major in volleyball, ping pong, and stuff like that. So like I was there for Beijing Wushu team, Beijing International Foreign Wushu team, because we weren't Chinese, we were the foreigners in Beijing, part of the Wushu team. So that's when you they do the bow staff, the big broadsword, the whip chain and all that. You get that was a cool year of my life.
That's why you went to China?
Yeah, I was just
Like just for that reason?
just for that. Just having fun. I was supposed to like learn acupuncture, but it's just like the language barrier, which is
But you went and did Olympic sports.
So you went and did swords?
Yeah, I went over there
Dude.
just to play with swords and.
We just gotta have you
bow
on next
staffs.
week. Just keep this
Hold
combo
on,
rolling.
hold on. We gotta introduce you first. Like you gotta stop. Like you're too much, dude.
All right, let's do housing prior tip of the week. What do we got here?
All right, so housing provider tip of the week. This seems very simple, but a lot of people miss out on this, and this was something that happened to a lot of landlords last week, where all of a sudden it was just this sheet of ice, and they are fighting to get their building salted. You know, if it snows a lot, or if it's icy out, you know, the plow company, the shovel companies, they usually can't get out there right away. Not at the time your tenants need the most. So I always tell people, landlords, if you have a multi-unit building or if you have a single-family home, just leave them with a bag of salt. It's a $4, $5, $6 bag. Leave it with them. Maybe replace it if you get a heavy year. But make sure you just have it there as a backup for your tenants to have, just to prevent slip and fall, or have one more thing to defend against if something ever did happen where somebody did fall on your property.
All right, it's good stuff. Our guest today, we already kind of started, but man, we just so much going on. He, from the real estate side, owner and founder of Wholesale Chicago Real Estate. He has done a ton of creative deals. He's scaled. He bought a 288 unit out of state. He's made a ton of valuable connections. And then we're going to learn a lot about just his personal life and what makes him awesome. So without further ado, Jeffrey Ma, welcome to the show.
Man, thank you for having me guys here. I really appreciate it. I am an absolute pleasure, really, to be a part of your guys' show and be invited. It really is. So thank you guys, Mark, Tom. Love it. Love it.
I feel like we've been asking you, though, for a little longer than you've been taking it
Yeah,
serious.
you're big timing us?
I know. Like, I thought it was the opposite at first.
I know. I totally get it. No, honestly, Tom probably asked me about almost a year and a half ago. I feel like he was asking me if I wanted to come talk about some of the creative deals that I've done. But it's funny. I think no matter, as we spoke before, that journey, that process, like you kind of always have a little bit of that imposter syndrome behind you, and you feel like you have to achieve a certain level before you can provide value. But then you always look back, like there's always someone that can get some type of value. That's someone behind you, and and whatever that journey. So again, thank you for. I don't know. I guess I just finally have the courage to come onto the show.
All right, well, let's do it, man. It's a good point though, because it's all relative, right? And like, what's the line? Like, comparison is the thief of joy. There's always gonna be someone doing more than you. There's always gonna be people behind you, no matter where you are. Like, that's just reality.
Yes.
It's like you just gotta not focus on it. So, all right, let's jump in, man. You have an interesting background. Just talk to us. Like, where did real estate? Where did that first come into your mind? What were you doing before then? And let's take it from there.
That is a great question. I've actually thought about this a couple times, and my first taste into real estate, as I was at UIC and I did a real estate course. Very general, very basic information, and it piqued my interest. And I went. All of a sudden, I saw there was a 3-day event to teach real estate investing, and you get excited. It's like, oh, it's $200. You get to learn as much as you possibly can. And you get there, and obviously it's just one of those big pitch fests. But it first taste in real estate, and I learned so much. I'm like fixing and flipping, a little bit of wholesale, and the amount of money you can make. And it opened my eyes, and I was just like, wow, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. But I kind of going back to really thinking about like what really got me started was this need to achieve something more for this life, because my family lost our home back in '08. And
If you don't mind, like, how old were you? Like, let's dig in there real quick.
so like I was just 19 years old.
Okay.
I had lived in China after I graduated in '07, and I was coming back, and my parents like, we're losing the house. Everything. I had no clue what was going on. I didn't even know we were in the Great Recession.
Yeah, you're 19.
You're 19. I'm just thinking like, hey, I have my whole life ahead of me. And then all of a sudden you come back and the news is we're losing one of the restaurants, we're losing the house, and things aren't looking so good. And it was a huge blow, because I actually grew up in the North Shore. I went to New Trier High School, but I was in the west part of Wilmette, which is funny how they'll say it's the ghetto of the North Shore, but there's still $500,000, $1 million homes on that side. And
It's a nice ghetto.
it's a very, very nice ghetto. Very, very nice ghetto. But ever since then, it was grind in the restaurant, whatever means to make some money and keep the family together. We were able to find a rental in Skokie. And the whole family working their asses off just to pay rent and just to come back to square one. And fast forward, I came back from China, and then went to UIC, did that first real estate course, had my first taste in like what real estate could really be, and I really didn't do anything. I was just trying to finish school, just trying to make money, keep things afloat with the family. And
What'd you get your degree in?
I got my degree in entrepreneurship. So the funny thing is I did what I went to school for, but I never used my degree. All right. And I graduated in 2014. And then 2 years later, one of my buddies is like, hey, bud, I'm going to go get my real estate license. Do you want to come with me and join the class? I'm like, yes. Yes, I'm totally down. It was a Groupon crash course if I remember, it was like for $278, and took the course, and then went to the test, passed the very first time, like bam, I'm in. I'm finally in. I got a foot in the door. I'm in real estate. Little did I know, I did not know anything. And the first 2 years as a real estate broker, I didn't close a single deal. I went on so many different showings without really realizing what I needed to do on those showings to really build relationships, to really talk to the potential renter, the potential buyer, to figure out what they really needed. All I thought was, go show it. If they like it, they sign the contract and you make a commission. And I was very thinking transactional, because that's all I knew in my life when working in the restaurant. Make food, customer comes pick it up, they buy it, they leave, you make a profit. And probably from there was just that big journey of personal development and really understanding what it really took to build a actual business. But also, I think more importantly, was like what it took to really build relationships. Because I think the number one thing that has helped me in this business is 100% the relationships. And doesn't matter how much you know, you need good people to work with. You need a good team to work with. And, those first 2 years as a broker, I was still 1 foot into the restaurant, or maybe like half, 1 foot and majority of my body and literally just a toe in real estate and trying to really get a good grasp of it. And then finally, my very first deal was my mom's house, right? We got foreclosed on back in '08, and finally in 2018, my mom had the ability to buy a loan, get a loan, and purchase our house, which is now in Morton Grove. And that was my very first deal. Wow. And I was super grateful to go through that process. And it's just like that first deal, it's like, I realized I didn't even know how to write a contract. I didn't know the home buying process. I didn't even know about the disclosures. Like you took a test in your real estate school, but it doesn't really set in until you actually go through a deal and close it.
Well, the test also, it's like how to convert acres to miles. Like the whole test is like pretty, none of the stuff is relevant.
There's not many other things you go through, like a course or a class, and then once you're done, like
never use it again.
You never use it again, and it doesn't at all even set up you at all for everything you just went through. You had no clue, like the contract, the sales, like, people are good at taking a test, but then they don't realize they have to be a networker. Like they have to do all those things. Like it's I don't know, it blows me away. And so many people don't make it because they just don't understand what the hell's coming out the other side. They just think they passed the test, now they can start making big commissions.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
Right, so that's your first one. Keep going. What?
First one.
We got a taste.
I got a little taste.
Family friend discount.
Family friend discount, right? I had a little bit of money from the restaurant. We had opened another restaurant in Old Town, and it started to do pretty well. And I'm like, okay, great. What should I do? I had really no guidance. I started buying Zillow leads. And the Zillow leads I was buying were in South Shore. And I was still like, it was probably the only place I could afford. And because of that, though, I was able to get a few more deals under my belt. And 2019 rolled around. I'm like, okay, great. I'm starting to get this. I feel really confident. I'm still working full time in the restaurant, but I'm still getting my feet wet in real estate. And then 2020 happened, and wow, a whole nother obstacle to get through. The restaurant in the city, we had to close that down. I was back to driving Uber and DoorDash to make ends meet, trying to go out on showings and then working at the restaurant. And since 2020, I have been working nonstop, 7 days a week. And funny thing is, it's like life had to like rock my whole world again in order for me to really take a bigger step into real estate and a bigger leap of faith within my own self. I remember just scrolling on Facebook, and there comes a Facebook ad for wholesaling real estate, and I'm like, oh, okay, great. This seems like the actual foot that I want to get in the door. I got my real estate license not because I wanted to be a real estate broker. It's because I wanted to invest in real estate, and I had no other knowledge or clue of how to get into real estate. And being a broker was not what I really wanted to do. I wanted to start investing, and wholesaling seemed like the next door to open. I maxed out my credit card, took this course, and 6 months later, after trial and error, I finally got my first wholesale deal done, and I'm like, okay, great. This is real. It's not some BS. It's not some pipe dream. It actually is definitely possible. And from there, that journey completely opened the door for me to all different parts of investing, because wholesaling, I think, is a great start for anybody that wants to get into real estate that doesn't have money. But understand you're going to have to put so much more work into it, because it's not as simple as finding a deal, getting under contract, and assigning that deal. You have to know the numbers. You have to help the seller in their situation, but you also have to make sure that the end buyer has the potential to make a good profit, and then you find where you can fit in between.
Well, let's break some of that down because I think that 6-month period is probably highly questionable. Like, were you going to make it? Could this fail? Will I lose all this money? I should buy my credit card. Like, no matter what the dollar amount is, it sounded like it was a dollar amount that was more than out of your comfort zone. So you had to do that. You didn't have the cash to put on a credit card. So that's first. That's awesome. Like that's great use of resources. Like, talk to us about kind of like that journey. Like, you went to this class. Like,
Yeah.
Why didn't you quit?
yeah.
Right, like COVID rocks the restaurant. You're like everything you just mentioned. Like, why didn't you quit?
I think growing up, the other side of me is I've been a martial artist my whole life, and the things that I had to go through as a preteen to teenager. So kind of a dark side to my story is that most people don't realize is that, like, in the recession, my father definitely had a really rough time. And as a teenager, dealing with someone that was abusing alcohol and having a way to overcome it, to me, is just like, man, if I could overcome that, especially when it comes to family and any type of alcohol or drug abuse, and you're able to be there for your family and find a way to make it through on the better end, on the greener side of things, it's like, wow, that right there is probably one of the toughest things I had to overcome myself. And I'm just like, real estate can't be that hard. It's like, real estate cannot be that hard. And even at a younger age, I did martial arts, and I got the old school punishment. Like, me and the master's son, we grew up, we got hit by bamboo sticks, 2x4s. We used to have to hold chairs above our heads, like the old school stuff that happened behind doors. And this is, growing up in the 90s, early 2000s. And we, you never say anything about it. And I'm more open to say about it. It's just because it was part of the culture, right? It's just how I grew up. It was my upbringing, but it was very tough. Even though I grew up in one of the best neighborhoods, I went to one of the best high schools this country, or even this state, this country has to provide. But I felt so disconnected growing up with martial arts, and then coming home to a father that I was struggling financially, and it's in hindsight, it's just like, he just did everything he could to get the family to where he thought he was supposed to be. He was just doing his best. But that opening up a restaurant with him in 2009, and then eventually losing it to COVID in 2020, that was just one heck of a journey, something to just overcome and really go through. And I'm just like, man, the thing that kept going back in my head, and you kept asking me, like, why did I quit? In my mind is like, think about the story about overcoming all of this, and how far are you going to go, and how fast you're going to go once things are in the right place. And it's just like, you just wait, you got it, and believe in yourself. I think that's probably the number one thing I feel for most people. Their greatest obstacle in life is not a lack of knowledge, money, or resources. Our greatest obstacle in life is our ability to believe in ourselves. And then once you have that, nothing can stop you.
Wow,
in my
man.
opinion.
I got chills. Like, that's probably one of the best, 60-second monologues we've ever had on this podcast. Like, everything you just broke down there. Like,
Remember he said he wasn't good enough to come on the podcast?
I know, geez.
Jesus, come on. What are
you
we
can
doing here?
leave now. You said everything you needed to say. Like, man. Like,
Mic dropping 10 minutes into this thing.
for real, like, that is huge. Like, everything you just dropped right there, it makes so much sense in theory, and that's what's given you so much resilience. And now, or probably for the rest of your life, you'll never lose that, and that's huge.
I think now I feel like I'm ready. Bring on the challenges. I can't. Like, I'm excited for it. Like, it's amazing, and I feel truly blessed that those things actually happened in my life, because if they didn't, I wouldn't be who I am today.
Yeah. All right, so let's go back to the tactical now. You get the first wholesale deal. What were you sending out mailers? Were you cold calling? Like, what were you actually doing to get the deal?
Honestly, I felt like I was a little bit lucky. It was a family friend that had a 2-flat in Albany Park, and they needed to get rid of it. Mom had unfortunately passed away, and mom had bought it back in 2009, and she got a great deal on it back in 2009. But mom was old school Asian, and wanted to do all the work herself. So we walked in, and also looked at, we also looked at the, Chicago buildings departments and code, no permits were pulled. Zero permits were pulled. And this place was half gutted, half worked on, and it needed a lot of work. And and the funny thing is, like, okay, great. I'm like, here's a real shot. This is the distressed property. She needs to get rid of this thing. There has to be something here. And I was looking at it online, like, hey, if we listed it, I'm like, I think we're probably gonna have to be way down here. She didn't want to list it. She didn't want to pay commissions. I'm like, okay, great. Well, how can we figure this out? And I didn't have buyers. I didn't have a relationship. And the funny thing, I was talking to one of the lenders that I just work on a normal basis doing regular residential deals. He's like, oh, wait, my mom wholesales. You should talk to her. And talk to her. She's like, as soon as I talk to her, she's like, I have a buyer ready to go. I'm just like, whoa. All right, is this real? I was like, okay, let's go through it. It ended up being a creative deal, my very first wholesale deal. In order for her to get the number that she wanted, the buyer needed her to do a seller finance for 2 years. And in the very end, I got paid $5,000 for that deal, but I didn't even know what creative was at that time. I was just like, how can we make this work? I'm like, okay, cool. Is it legal? Great. Like, is seller finance,
no further questions.
Is seller financing legal? Okay, great. Let's just go for it. Let's go. And then after that, I'm like, cool. It's like when you get that first deal under your belt, it's like, wow. The amount of knowledge and experience you get off of the first deal of just going through the momentum, the flow, whatever you want to call it, it's just like, okay, great, the doors are open. And then from there, it was trying to really figure out this game. And the course that I bought specifically was teaching something like micro flipping is what he called it, which was his version of calling wholesaling, which is find distressed properties, get it under contract, and sell to hedge funds. I'm like, oh, perfect. Yeah, hedge funds are buying 80% of ARV at the time. I'm like, okay, great, cool. This makes perfect sense. Come to realize, I don't think there's any hedge funds buying single-family homes in the city of Chicago. And it's just like, but I'm like, okay, there still has to be something this way. But essentially, it's talking to other wholesalers, talking to other agents, asking them, hey, do you have a deal that you need help moving? And then on the other flip side, it's either you find someone that has a buyer or you have the relationship with the buyer and help wholesale the deal. And that's how I've been doing most of my deals, is just by connecting with other wholesalers, other agents that have something that's off market, something that needs work, something that's in a distressed situation, something that the owner doesn't want to list sometimes. It's, for whatever reason. Most of the properties that I'm dealing with, they have so many liens on them, so many problems with it, like nobody wants to touch them. And it's just like you realize how many properties are like that on the south side of Chicago, the west side of Chicago, where real estate agents actually don't want to service those clients. And I totally get it. As agents, you're out there going after for your dreams. So it's just like, I remember my very first listing was a 2-flat in Inglewood. We sold that. We listed it for $35,000. And we finally got under contract for 32. I'm like, okay, great. First listing, I don't care. I want to get the experience. I just want to learn. And come to realize, the water line was connected to the neighbors. And we couldn't get a water cert to close on this property. And I'm like, uh-oh, what's going to happen? I don't know. And I'm just thinking like, how are we going to sell this thing? And I realized next door was also a full good rehab property, 2-flat, that sold probably like 6 months before I started listing mine. Reached out to that agent. If I would have knew better, I would have found the buyer, but it's okay. Found the agent, asked the agent, like, hey, would your client be interested in purchasing the property next door? Oh yeah, by the way, my client's water line is connected to yours. And it's just like, okay. Guy looked at it. We went under contract for $18,000. After everything all said and done, I didn't know you could have asked for a flat rate for your commission. So I got 3.5% on $18,000, and my commission split with the brokerage was still a 60-40. So after probably 6 months worth of work, I made like $280 something, I think. And I'm like, yeah, Yeah, I was like, you need 1,000 of these to a month.
Just do this 1,000 times.
Do this 1,000 times each month, and you'll make good money. But that's where like things just kind of clicked in my head. I'm like, okay, great. No, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of properties in Chicago that need to be wholesaled or need to be sold. They need rehab. Otherwise, these communities are continuously deteriorating because who wants to live next to the house that's boarded up, abandoned, maybe fire damage, whatever it is. And I'm like, okay, great. Now I see a way, and I'm going to keep working at it.
Yeah. So you've done a lot of creative financing since then, right? Like you've done some sub 2, you've done some seller financing. Can you give us an example of one, maybe, one of the quote unquote cooler or more non-conventional deals you've done?
Cool. This was, so again, like the funny thing is that everyone thinks you need to always go to the seller. Yeah. Everyone always thinks that you need to go direct to seller to find the best deals, but sometimes it's just the people that you meet. Again, I'm going to always hit on this. It's your relationships that you built. And one of these guys had hit me up on Facebook is, hey, Jeffrey, I got this small portfolio of 4 single-family homes in the south side of Chicago. 2 are in Calumet City. 1 was in Hazel Crest, and 1 was in Pullman of Chicago. And he's just like, I need help moving this. And I'm just like, ugh. He's just like, seller is willing to assign the contracts. He totally understands. He's just a tired landlord. He lives in California, and he wants to offset he wants some liquidity in his funds to go do a different project. Apparently at that time he wanted to do a sober home and I was like, okay, great. And I went to a networking event where this guy's like, hey, I've seen you on Facebook a bunch. I'm like, oh, okay, great. It's working. I don't know what I'm doing on Facebook, but people are finding me. And he's like, hey, do you have any deals? I'm like, yeah, I actually have this 4 properties. Seller's willing to subject to, and for if you guys want to know what that is, it's subject to the mortgage. They're going to sell the real estate with the mortgage in place. And essentially, the new buyer is going to take over the seller's mortgage payments, and then make sure that everything else is caught up. If there's anything in the arrears, they'll catch up. They'll reinstate the loan if need be, and then continue payments. Then that's a very basic level of explaining it. But
and what's the advantage to both parties there?
The advantage right there is, depending on the seller situation, right? The seller knew if he put the property on the market, he would be at a loss because he would have more closing costs. He would have to pay commissions on every single property. In this instance, seller was still able to get a little bit of cash out of the deal. Me and the other gentleman that wholesaled the deal, we both made $5K, and then the buyer got a lower interest rate than he would if he went to go get a loan to purchase these properties. And so it is a win-win-win for all parties. And man, that was trying to do all 4 of those deals was quite a challenge because I haven't done a deal in Calumet City. It's like, oh wait, we have to do a city inspection and for both properties, and then the one in Hazel Crest wasn't that bad to deal with, but that was a Section 8 tenant, and then there was the tenant in West Pullman. And it was the funny thing about that one. Apparently, the landlord forgot to tell her that we were coming. And we opened the door. She's like, who the heck are you guys? And she's like, I'm about to go grab my Beretta. I'm like, whoa, hey, no. We're the people just looking to purchase the property. And she's looking at my buyers thinking that they're my clients that are going to move in, not as investors. So my buyer had to come in and explain, no. We don't want you to move. We want you to stay. We're going to, we just want to look at the property, see if there's anything that we need to take care of in the future. But in the end, we got the deal done, and 4 a small portfolio, all subject to the buyer.
Well, let me ask you this now: like, when these opportunities arise, like, do you now after going through several of them, like, oh, I know another way to get this done? Yes. Right? Even your first deal, like, it was awesome to hear, like, okay, how do we do this? Is it legal? Great. Great,
yeah.
That mindset of just like what can happen here, like that open-endedness is what you need, right? That's creativity.
I'm completely forgetting the deal that we're supposed to close today, actually. And actually, we got this I made a post on Facebook and just asking, hey, if you have any deals in Chicago, please let me know. We love the JV, which is joint venture. And the gentleman, actually, I had talked to him before. He had my phone number, reached out to me. This was a week and a half ago on Wednesday. Calls me, he's like, hey, seller really wants to sell it. Auctions on Monday. I'm like, wow, okay, great. Today's Wednesday. Wow, okay. And apparently they tried to modify the loan already. That didn't work. So we were trying to figure out a way to stay the sale, which I'm still trying to completely understand what that really means. But essentially, we were trying to pause or put the foreclosure on hold while the property was under contract.
The judicial sale. Stop the judicial sale.
Stop the judicial sale. Just any way we can stop it and get a little bit more time to figure out and get this deal done. And this was, again, a property in Hazel Crest. It was a 4-bed, 2-bath. It's been vacant for 10 years. It's a newer build, but it still needed a full cosmetic rehab on the inside. Seller waited to the last minute. He says he'd been talking to people, and then the very last minute, he's like, okay, yeah, I need to do something or else I will get a foreclosure on my record and zero money. So this was truly unique in that it wasn't, when I say creative, this is probably as creative as it could be. We didn't quite subject to the mortgage, actually. It wasn't a purchase and sale agreement. It was an agreement to reinstate the loan, and seller would sign a warranty deed over.
So he's signing the deed over. You guys,
and then the
over.
buyer reinstated the loan, and then they were going to essentially do the subject to after the fact. But they didn't want to take the chance of trying to get it to stop the judicial sale on Monday. So on Friday, buyer wanted the seller to notarize an agreement. It wasn't technically a purchase and sale agreement. It was just an agreement to reinstate the loan and sign over their warranty deed.
How much was that going to be to reinstate it?
$115,000. The total payoff was about $210,000. And so just that you can imagine, like $115,000 in the arrears to... Yeah, the guy, they were looking at it, it's like, we don't want to take the chance of the court just auctioning it off on Monday. So on Friday, both parties signed that agreement, and then seller notarized a warranty deed, sent it over to the buyer. Buyer and seller were on the phone with the servicing company. Servicing company gave the reinstatement amount, and then buyer wired the funds. And we wired the funds East Coast time at 4:29, and if they had wired a minute later,
that was 4:30. Yeah,
the funds wouldn't have arrived until Monday, which might have been too late. So it was like down to the wire, very last minute, and the whole weekend everyone was on edge. Like, we don't know if it was reinstated. We don't know, like, because no one's working on the weekends. We can't get confirmation. We did get confirmation that they received payment, but not a reinstatement. Luckily, on Monday, what happened was the servicing company actually sold the loan to another servicing company. So we got more time to take care of everything, make sure all the ducks were in a row. But nonetheless, we technically got the deal done within 2 days, and then in this past week, we've been hashing out all the other details about the property, and that was probably the most out of the box deal that I've done so far.
The funnier POV of this scenario is the 9 or 10 people that were waiting for Monday morning to bid on that at the bank sale or at the judicial sale.
Yeah.
Like, those guys were waiting all weekend. Like, that's what we're gonna do. We've been watching it. Like,
let me get my fun. Let me liquidate to get.
Yeah. So there's always like that whole other side that was ready to pick it up on the back end. Had no clue all of this was going on.
Yeah, it was down to the last minute, so it was super cool. I was like, can we do this? I was just like, it's like, yeah. So this week we ended up pulling title, making sure everything was clean. Like, we did as much research as we possibly could for the buyer on what was recorded on public record. There was one lien attached, but it was the seller had a blanket mortgage on, and then they were able to get the lender to release just that property. So, whoo, that was quite the ordeal. But so the funny thing is not a true wholesale deal, but we did get a fee agreement for our services. So the fee agreement with me, well, actually, there's three of us, was for $18,000. Buyer agreed to that. Buyer also agreed to pay the seller $5,000, and seller was perfectly fine with taking $5,000 and being done with it because it also helped saved him for a foreclosure, and he got some money in his pocket.
Yeah, he's put himself in a situation where anything is a win for him.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's waited too long.
He's waited way too long, and I was surprised we got that deal. Like, the funny thing is that when I reached out to my colleague that had the buyer actually was looking at that property, had seen that property over a year ago, so she knew exactly which property it was. And the funny thing is the buyer actually wanted to use that as their personal residence because their sister lives in the same area. So I was like, that's like a needle in a haystack, just like the coincidence of the gentleman that the gentleman that called me. Like, I've only had maybe 2 conversations with him. He's like, hey, I have this deal and it's going to auction. Him having the buyer, and then him talking to me, and then me talking to another colleague who had the buyer who wanted this property from the beginning. So that was super cool. It was super cool.
But that's how it works, right? Like there's certain people that I can almost count on, like I'm gonna get a deal or 2 deals a year from, and then there's like just the random whatever, like, hey, I hit you up on Bigger Pockets 3 years ago. Well, you never know like when this stuff comes back.
Yeah, and sometimes just a random Facebook message, like you're saying, that like you accidentally haven't checked Facebook in a couple of days or something like that, and it popped up right there. So
Yeah, man. All right, so those are good examples. Now you've done more than just wholesaling now, right? Like you're syndication. Like, what's the last year here? You've really started doing some bigger things here. Let's hear about it.
I did my first syndication in 2023, technically, into going into 2024. Me and my partner were on the capital raise side of it, and it was very interesting. I still have so much to learn about multifamily syndication, but it really takes a team, right? You have your underwriters, you have your sponsors on the deal, which I like to call the what was I was thinking about? What did they call it? What do you call it when you need a parent to sign?
A guardian?
A guardian?
A babysitter?
Not a babysitter. A co-signer, yes.
Yeah.
I call sponsors the co-signer of the deal. Your asset manager, who's going to be managing property management, and then capital raisers, people who raise the money. And a great learning experience, learned a lot of it. The only thing is that, like, I won't see any money for 5 to 7 years. And that was super cool. You know, we closed on it. There was 288 doors in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Class C, and plenty of room for value add. And so, but but I'm not in a position where, like, man, I could just wait 5 to 7 years and be groovy. No, I need money now. So I still wholesaling, still doing regular realtor business. And actually, I closed my biggest real estate deal as a realtor just last year. I have a client that she's expanded the business, but essentially she does a lot of displays for like Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace Hardware, and she also sells the racks that they use to store and display all their inventory. So she just bought 152,000 square feet in Hayward, California, just outside of San Francisco. And to give you perspective, we sold it at 350 per square foot for every foot. So that ended up being a $41 million deal.
Woo.
350 a square foot. That's crazy.
I'm like, wow. And the funny thing is that me and the agent in California went 50-50, even though our commission was 0.75%. We still both had 6-figure commissions out of that, which was just insane. I'm like, wow, think about if we had 1 point up. We had 1 full point each. Like, I'd be making some bigger moves right now. But actually, right now, I have a new partner, and we're doing our first flip in Country Club. It's a 4-bed, 2-bath. We picked it up for 65. We're putting about 80, and we're going to list it for 225. And that's the first of many to come. Our goal is to do 6 this year.
All right. And did you source that one yourself? Where did the deal come from?
That deal came from someone in Texas that happens to be part of a same mentorship group that I was a part of. But because I'm the guy in Chicago, he's like, hey, Jeff, I got a deal in Chicago. I need help moving. And I'm like, okay, yeah, tell me what you got. And this ended up being, it was a quick deal. I had a buyer that was ready to move on it. And this buyer actually wants to partner with me. He's like, hey, if you can get more deals like this, we'll split the net profits off the flip. I'm like, great, let's go.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you've mentioned network multiple times here. You and Ellie have a very solid meetup. Let's give it a chance to plug it right now.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
And then talk to us why, how did that come to evolution? Like, did you text it? Like, how did that?
Funny thing, yeah. The wholesale mentorship that I'm a part of, hit the owner of that. His name's Jamil Damji. Great guy. He's been on Bigger Pockets podcast a few times. He's been called the ethical wholesaler. Him and alongside with his best friend Pace Morby has a group that's super into creative finance. They're called Sub 2. So Pace Morby and Jamil Damji had a meetup for anyone that was part of the mentorship here in Chicago. Happened to be the Canes in Wrigleyville, and they actually have an event. I guess they Airbnb up top. Above the Canes over there, super nice with a rooftop patio, and that's where I met Ellie. And we're chit chatting, and Ellie just like, "Hey man, I got this Facebook group. We got and I looked at it, it had like 4,000 members on in the Facebook group. He's just like, I really want to do meetups. I just don't have a space. I'm just like, I have a space, and because the family's been in the restaurant business and the space, as you guys have been, right? It's over at 1438 West Cortland. Really cool spot, very industrial, right on the river before you go over to Cortland Bridge going east on the north side of the street. And we've been doing it for going on 4 years now. And it's funny, the 4 years have flew by. They really have. And it's super cool. You get to invite guests like yourselves, other people in the industry, Titans, local people, nationwide people, and you get to learn so much just by having guests and bringing people together.
Yep. And when is it for all our listeners so they know?
It is the first Tuesday of every month from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock at 1438 West Cortland, and there is plenty of free parking.
Yeah, you get the lot right there. It's nice.
Yes, yeah, you don't get that. I was like, yeah, that was the big thing too. It's like, dude, I have a huge parking lot in
Right
front.
off the highway too.
Right off the highway. Yeah.
So, all right. So we'll link to that in our show notes for all our listeners. Mark and I have both been several times. It's a great event. You guys get constantly get 50 people and above. Every time I've been there, it's packed.
Definitely, yeah. We've definitely, I would say 50 plus. I think 60s are our average. But it's always great just to bring local people to the community that want to invest, that want to learn, from novice to expert.
It's huge. I always tell people there's something about bringing people together that helps elevate you in a different way.
Definitely, 100%. I big fan of communities, right? Not only with the networking with people that are like-minded, it's just staying plugged in.
Yep. Man, so you've done a lot here in a short period of time. What's next? What's the goal? What's the 2 years from now? What are we looking at when we have you back on?
Man, 2 years from now, I'm just wanting to systematize my process of how I do deals so I can get a little bit more time back. I'm still working 7 days a week, with a combination of being at the restaurant and real estate. And I think time is one of those things I need to get back. And it's always been hustle. Since 2020, I have literally been working 7 days a week. And except for the occasional trip for either a real estate event or maybe a small wedding, I haven't had a single weekend off. If I'm lucky, I'll give myself a half day off. And honestly, I think being the entrepreneur, I think sometimes that's all you really need. Just take a half day, don't do anything, shut the brain off. But really systematizing my business, really growing it. And then also 2 years from now, I want to create another community not just surrounded around real estate, but just entrepreneurs in general, go-getters, people that want more out of this life. They understand. It's kind of this weird feeling of like, man, I'm so proud of where I've came from, what have I accomplished, but it's just like, I know I could do more. I know I could do better. It's funny. It's almost like it can never really truly be filled or you can't truly arrive there. It's an ongoing process, and I think that's just the journey. And I think that's just it's a really cool thing. I think it's just always working on yourself.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's awesome. What about the restaurant side of things? Are you always going to be on both sides there, or?
So that's the funny thing. I used to think that like, I really don't want to be in the restaurant business. Part of me still doesn't want to, but it's family's part of it. And it was also funny thing. That was one of my struggles. That was kind of like one of the forks in the road in 2022, I believe. I went to an event in Las Vegas. It was called the Clever Summit event. Cody Sperber is the host, if you guys know who he is. There was an opportunity for everyone to get on the mic and ask a question. And I got up and asked people asking real estate questions, people asking personal questions. Mine was a little bit more personal. And I got up the mic. It's like, I'm at a point in my life where I'm ready to go. Like I have just enough knowledge to really work on and build a business. But my family, my mom has a restaurant that, she only knows how to work hard, and the business, I can't necessarily just hire people to replace me. And I'm in a fork in the road. Like, and the question I asked was just, how do I leave her without feeling guilty? Because I thought I had to make a choice, one or the other. And I think most people also feel like that, right? It's kind of like the job they hate and what their dreams of is just, I was in a situation where most people are like, oh, just hire somebody and you can replace them. It's just like, you don't understand. Like, they work a certain way. They only know how to work hard. And they never had the opportunity to actually learn how to build a business. They only know how to survive. And the way they do things isn't always the same. So even if I took the time to build systems, they'll never follow it because they'll go back to the way they know how to do things. So it's kind of like, you know what? This is why I want to systematize my business and automate it so I can still be there for them. It's kind of like one of those things where people are always like, you got to think about you. You got your life to worry about. I'm like, well, true, 100% true, but they're also my life as well. Especially culturally, just the family unit is super, super important. And being able to help my mom, help my dad, even with all the stress and anxiety, it's still love. It's still a lot of love. So it's just systematizing that. I don't know if I want to sell the restaurant yet. I know mom might want to, and I'm newly married as well. So the wife,
I see the ring.
Thank you. Yeah, me and the wife are thinking kids, and if kids are in the equation, I don't know what I'm going to do with the restaurants. I really don't, but I would certainly love to keep them going because I think the Chinese restaurant. Most families that come to this country that open a Chinese restaurant, it's not because out of passion. It was out of necessity. And parents never wanted their kids to take over. At least I know, and the way I feel, and most of Chinese parents that I know, they don't want their kids to take over the restaurant business because of how hard it is.
Yeah. For our listeners who watch The Bear, is that accurate portrayal?
Oh, yeah. I definitely had a lot of trigger moments. I'm like, oh, my gosh. Like a lot of familiarity is just like a lot of yelling, stress, anxiety, like who's doing what, screaming at each other, especially when it's family. The Bear was definitely, I think it was, obviously a little
the hard-hitting questions here.
A little dramatic, definitely a little dramatic, but definitely right on the nail for sure.
All right. Cool. Good to wrap?
Yeah, that's awesome. What a great show this was. All right, you ready?
Already.
You got to know these questions by now, so.
Yeah, let's go.
All right, what's your competitive advantage? How have you been able to do so much in just these years when others wish they could?
I think I've fallen in love with the process of becoming the best version of myself. I'm not worried about the destination. I'm just worried about doing a little bit better each day and being present and honestly puts a smile on my face every day.
That's beautiful. All right. One piece of advice you would tell someone who's yet to buy their first property here in Chicago.
Believe in yourself and don't be afraid to make mistakes. You're going to. It's part of the process. And don't wait. Don't wait. Take a leap of faith in yourself. Get started. But also don't worry about getting there too fast. Just start.
Love it.
What do you do for fun?
I train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which some people might say is not that fun, but recently...
I've been thinking about it. There's one right by my house. Like, just going in and trying. Like,
it definitely beats you up. I recently just got my black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which now I can say I officially have 2, black belt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, 4th degree black belt in Taekwondo, and I would also say
Dude, you're
black
way
belt.
cooler than me. I'm in a restaurant, been through all this shit. 2 black belts.
I wouldn't say a black belt in real estate, you know?
That's awesome. All right. Give us a good book, podcast, or self-development activity you'd recommend to our listeners.
One recent book that's really opened my eyes was Mind Management, Not Time Management by David, I hope I'm saying his last name right, Kadavy, Kadavy. It's more about on creativity, the creativity process, but it really just kind of made me think like, you know what? I think in school you're taught like, oh, we have to have social studies, we have to have math, we have to have art, we have to. So it's just like when I was trying to tackle my business, I was trying to like, okay, I gotta do a little bit of marketing, I gotta do a little bit of outreach, cold calling, I gotta do a little bit of everything every day. And I think that is the most inefficient way of getting yourself to where you need to go. And he talks about mental states and flow that like at certain points or a certain time, there are moments when you can do deep work and focus work for certain things and moments when you can do light administrative work. And under being consciously aware of that helps you actually be a little bit more productive because then you can double down on the times when it's like, okay, great, I got the focus, I got the flow, let's keep working. But then at the same time, don't also force yourself to do too many things. Even if you're blocking out time and per hour basis, you're technically multitasking and your brain is not wired to do that.
other than yourself, name a valuable resource for Chicago real estate investors.
I got to give a shout out to RJ De Leon. He recently helped me out with the issue I was dealing with and provided some resources. Just an all around great guy.
Yeah. If we had our notes up, we could say what episodes because he's been on a couple times.
Yeah, and plug his community. He's building out right now too. It's pretty cool.
Yes.
All right, Jeffrey, thank you so much. You provide a ton of value to our listeners. These have been very insightful stories. How can they learn more about you? Is there any way they can provide value to you?
Yes. If you guys are looking to wholesale, do a deal, I'm more than happy to joint venture with you guys. Hit me up at Jeff Ma Real Estate, either on Facebook, Instagram, not that much on TikTok or Twitter, but Facebook and Instagram, you can definitely find me, Jeff Ma Real Estate.
All right.
All right. Chicago Fact. Who are we playing for? Who's a sponsor?
All right. If I read this fast, it sounds funny, but I think it's Jake Oaf, not Jack Off. Perez. If someone bought something in the merch store, I'm like, is this a joke? Like I thought maybe you went and bought something, but no, I'm gonna go with Jake Oaf, Perez. And Jake Oaf, if myself or Jeffrey gets this question right, you get a $50 gift card brought to you by today's sponsor, Pro Financial Group by Mike Procaccio.
All right. So here we go. We're going restaurant on this.
All right.
So Michelin Guide, the highest rating in the U.S. is 3 stars. I also didn't know that. How many 3-star restaurants are there in Chicago? And your options are 0, 1, 2, or 4.
I'm not going to lie, I know the answer to this. I'm pretty sure.
I
I'm
thought there
pretty
was 2 and we
confident.
just got a third one though.
No, there's actually only 2 3 Michelin stars in the country, from my understanding.
Oh. I thought we had okay, really?
I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty confident on that.
Well, so you're gonna say 0 then?
I'm gonna say 1.
This is according to ChatGPT, so we might have some controversy.
We might have to double.
Procaccio might have to shell out $50 regardless.
I am like 99.9%. There's only 1 in Chicago.
Okay, I'll say 2.
So the answer I have on the internet is 2, but I don't feel very confident now after him.
It might be a new one though.
So Smith in the West Loop, SMYTH, and then Aliana in Lincoln Park.
Alinea,
sorry.
right off of Halstead, and then unless Smith recently got a 3rd star, then
I know
that
something
would be
just
true.
happened recently. But
So that might be recently. So I might be outdated.
either way,
Either way, you got it.
jack off. I'm so sorry, man.
You're not sorry. That was waited all episode
All right,
for
Mr.
that.
Perez, you win a $50 gift card brought to you by.
Here comes our first
Financial,
1-star
Mike
review.
Pasha. If you guys are, it's tax time, so if you're looking to get your taxes done, or at least talk to somebody professionally, talk to Mike over at Pro Financial. So thank you, Mr. Perez, for buying something on Straight Up Chicago merch store. Jeffrey, thanks for coming on. Tom, thank you as always. Listeners, we talked about meetup groups. Jeffrey's group's on there, but go to straightupchicagoinvestor.com, go to Chicago meetups, and we have them all listed on there. And if you have one that you haven't added on yet, please, there's a form on there you can fill out. We'll pop it up there within 24 hours. So Jeffrey, thank you. Tom, thank you. Listeners, we'll see you next week.